What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Elijah, what's up?
Nothing much. Just a little bit tired, ready for the semester to be over.
Yeah.
But other than that, really can't complain. Have you been participating in March Madness?
No. No, I haven't.
Oh, you didn't enter your brackets? Well, some of mine I did pretty decent on. Rest of
Yeah.
them were just cooked. But hey, it is what it is. They apparently, fun fact, they said it's like 1 in quintillion or some weird, just really high number. Like basically they're saying the chance of you finding a grain of sand on Earth is higher than guessing a perfect bracket,
Yeah.
which is actually pretty insane to think about.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Um. Okay. Well, to continue with what we got, you want to talk about anything real quick? You want to you got any small talk you want to bring up? Anything going on in your life other than just March Madness? School going good?
Oh yeah, school's going pretty decently. My grades, they
Yeah.
they took a little bit of a hit. I'm not failing or anything, but what was ever in the A range, kind of B range.
Yeah.
But that can always be pulled back up for real.
Yeah. Alright,
How about you?
Man, I'm going through it. I'm going through it. That's all I got to say about it. We making it. We making it one way or another. So let's go ahead and get into our topics. What you think?
Yeah, I ain't got really nothing else to speak, so let's go ahead and get the audience
All right,
what they
let's
came
do
right
it.
here.
Alright, well, let's start real quick. We are going to start by first talking about sorry, the music's playing. It's yeah. The sound effect may come on. All right, let's do it. We're gonna start out by talking about. Let me find the name of the school real quick so I sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about. But you know what? We'll start with the story first. So the story. So everyday high school. You have your boys' locker room and your girls' locker room. So the girls come in one day, they go into their locker room. Well, they're confused. They come back out. They go, "Hey, we're not gonna get changed today." And they're like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" They're like, "Well, there's a dude in our locker, in like our locker room." So this happens, and apparently it's a transitioned male who is a biological male to female. This is what happened. He's sitting in the locker room, and the girls feel uncomfortable. They feel like they've been violated, and they refuse to dress out. So next day goes by. As the next day goes by, obviously, kids probably talk to their parents, talked about a couple things, but before that happens, it's the next day at school. Probably parents really didn't say nothing about it, just dropping it off as like drama or whatever. But the assistant principal, and I have her name here, assistant principal Kathy Bantries, pulled all of the girls into the office to question them. And then the superintendent, Joanna Ford, Kathy Barnes, and multiple teachers all went into the locker room and forced the girls to change into uniform. And this went on all week. So basically what we're saying here is they all got called into the principal's office. Principal's like, "Hey, you're going to get changed whether you like it or not." And like with this student in here. Basically saying, like pushing their woke agenda, basically going, "Hey, you guys are going to accept this student, so you guys are going to get changed in front of that biological male," which obviously, I don't know how you would feel personally, Elijah, but I don't think I want to get changed in front of, let's say there's a female in the male locker room. and there's a bunch of guys in there. It's already rough enough to get changed in front of a bunch of guys, like, no lie. That people be running around doing stupid crap in there, especially in high school.
Flicking it on people.
Well, in high school it's even worse because people be running up like punching you in the nuts and shit. So freaking, if there's a girl in there or a guy who was a girl before and transitioned into it, you're gonna feel even more uncomfortable because you're gonna be like, hey, this is kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about this, but being guys, we'd probably just go, you know what, man, screw that guy, man, I don't care. Freaking high school kids just gonna go, man, ignore that gay motherfucker. That's what the kids are going. That's what high school kids are gonna say. Shit, that's probably what. Yeah, I mean, if that crap happened at our school, can you imagine what would have been said back when we was in high school? There'd have been a whole freaking mob.
Oh, you better like we been out of high school 10 years or something.
Hey, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying, but freaking. Anyway, so this happens. And so after they force them all to change out of uniform, there was one student by the name of Ginger Lagerman, wait, hold on, let me go back here. So they changed into uniform. This went on all week with the exception of Ginger Lagerman, whose mother come out and said, "My daughter refused to take part of her privacy being violated. How dare they?" Well, this mother come out and she wound up going and reporting this incident to both the police and to the federal government. I'm not sure where it's went from there yet. I'll have to do some more research to kind of check it out because I think it's still fairly new. Anyways, passing on to what happened after that. So because of the mother and the daughter, they're out there. They're obviously putting attention onto this matter because they feel like it's wrong. Well, since then, the mother of the daughter then was ridiculed by the trans activist movement and all kinds of different people, all giving her hell, basically saying, hey, you need to allow your child to partake in this because it's wrong. You're not accepting what we're pushing onto you, and because you're not doing this, that means you're some sort of hate-centered person who hates trans people and doesn't support them and think that they're awful human beings and not even human. Stuff like that's being said to her, and they're sending her, I could only imagine what kind of threats as well to her. And since then, there was no press who decided to cover the story at all, as far as just regular, in Chicago anyways, or not, or in Illinois, pretty much no news platform, anything really covered the story. There was only one person who I found through some research, listening to Andrew Clavin as well. He said that stuff like the Chicago Tribune and the Sun Times, they didn't report it, but it was covered by Dan Proft on his morning show, which I believe is a radio show. So that's how much coverage this actually got. I mean, I think this would be important news. I don't know what's all going down in Illinois right now that shouldn't be front page news, other than they just don't want the attention off of it. But so far, that's what I've got on this incident. Hopefully I'll be able to shine a little bit more light on it, but I feel that, if I had a kid and that was my daughter, I wouldn't want her to be forced to change in there, especially because you never know what the actual motives behind this person is, even if they are even transitioned or whatever. You know how they get the reassignment surgery? Well, what happens if they're just claiming that they're female and they haven't got that surgery yet? So they're in there, but they still have the same private parts as a male, and they're changing in the female locker room. Well, you know how, because this isn't high school. This is middle school. These are 12 and 13-year-old kids. I failed to mention that in the beginning, and I'll go ahead.
Well, I think we can apply that when you said middle school.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if I said, what do you call it, if I actually, like, emphasized that it was middle school. And the middle school that it happened in was Allen B. Shepeard Middle School. So, it just goes to show, hey, this is messed up. And they're middle school kids, middle school boys. Think of it this way. If, like, you know how middle school kids are. They're going to be like, hey, man, I want to see some girls. I wonder what the girls look like. I wonder this. I wonder that. Man, why don't we just pretend like we're females because it's working for that person. We'll just pretend like we're females, and then we'll be in the female locker room with them, and they're not going to say anything. And it's just all so they can see them and catcall them and just sit there and, like, be just obscene towards them. And I don't know. I feel like I've done a lot of talking. What do you think here, Elijah?
What's really going on here, and why there's so much controversy, is that there's kind of a line, not even kind of, we all have an acceptance line, and we've been talking to middle school, you know how you holler at a line of, okay, I'm going to do this activity with a friend. Okay, this one's getting towards the line, you know, I can still do it, but, you know, it's a little bit pushing. And then when it crosses your threshold, you're like, heck no, I'm getting away from that situation. I don't want to be a part of it. Here, as a society, the line for any category is just constantly being pushed into the red territory. And eventually you're just blurring the line that doesn't exist at all. So that's why you have such an equal side of people, you know, the young girls, you know, that didn't want to change, you know, them and their parents are, you know, in disagreements. But then the trans community and the student, of course, is on the other side saying, well, since I am considered a girl or whatever, I now label myself as one.
Yeah.
You know, I can now do things and be what's the word I'm looking for? I can be a woman. There was something I wanted to say. I kind of forgotten. But the whole point is that the sense of identity, the sense of a line is just being erased away, and it's becoming harder and far more difficult to address these kind of cases, because now that you're bending the laws, loopholes are being founded, and nothing can get stopped.
Yeah. The way I feel about the matter is, instead of trying to teach these kids, and I don't think any reassignment surgery should be available to anybody under 18 especially, and I would even go as far as to say 21, just because it's awful. I mean, in my beliefs, I believe you're born what you are, and I think that you ought to stick with that, and it's not something that you should be changing. And I know I'm probably going to get hate for that if, you know, this does take off or something. But the way I feel is, whenever you're born, instead of trying to change who you are and feel like you're uncomfortable in your skin, that right there is a problem. If you ever feel like you're uncomfortable in your skin, you need to take a step back and go, hey, this is who I am. I feel, because we used to teach kids and we used to teach people all around us that whoever you are is who you are, and you shouldn't have to change that. You are who you are. It goes along the lines of, hey, you know, Elijah, take you for an example. You're a black male. Let's say they come out with some sort of surgery or something, or like dye, where it's you're able to become a white male. And then vice versa. Let's say they do that for us as well, so we can become a black male. I mean, is that really fair to the other people of that heritage, for one? And number two, why do you feel the need that you need to change that? I feel like you should be able to accept who you are, and then by doing that as well, you're losing a lot of culture. You're losing your identity. Your whole self-identity. And doing this stuff, there's no turn back too. Let's say if you're a woman or a male, and you decide, hey, I want to be able to, you change your gender, and then you're like, well, crap, how am I supposed to,
Transition.
well, yeah, like you can't detransition, and people can go, oh, well, you can get one attached back on or taken off or whatever. Well, here's the problem with that: you can't have kids after that. At least to my knowledge, you can't. You pretty much summed it up. And then you see these like horror stories of where people transition and then they can't get the hormones that they need, so their body is just completely and utterly like confused. For one, two, it's like shutting them down because now that they've changed their inner workings, they're not producing either testosterone or what gosh, I don't know what it is. Estrogen, yeah. On an appropriate level or anything, so they have to take the hormone replacement stuff, or they have to take what do you call it, like testosterone pills, stuff like that, and it ruins their body when they're not able to get a hold of that.
The other thing too is that I've seen enough online stories of actual people that grown adults, not just teenage, middle school, but grown adults, and they're 20s. These people are old enough to vote, and they're in their 30s, and they end up regretting what they've done after so long because it just eats at them.
Yeah.
Because they realize maybe they did like a football or basketball, or not basketball, but football or wrestling more than a female, or they may have messed around with the color pink a little bit. They may have design and fashion, but kind of realized, oh, I didn't really need to change myself. I could still like those things, and those activities, but I don't think that.
Well, it's like this. I think you should love yourself before you hate yourself. I mean, people go from they're like, hey, I hate being a male. I hate it. I can't stand it. It's awful. Males are horrible. I'm going to change to a female. And then they change and they realize there's no significant difference other than now you have different body parts. And you're sitting there like, well, oh, I'm a female now. I can't, And then like later on down the line, exactly what you said, they regret it. And there's no going back from that. And then some people love it. They decide to stay with it. And I feel like it's a little rougher for men who change to female than it is for females who change to men. Because I'm not for certain, but I think the inner workings and everything that goes on is a little bit like more difficult per se. Or at least the women who change into men get a little bit more love than the men who change into women, is what I would think. But anyways, that's pretty much all I've got to say on this topic right now. But I don't know what all you have planned for us. But yeah, whatever you have the floor.
You actually gonna play this?
What?
You actually about to play that?
What?
You could have waited to the end. It's an outro and intro. We already done an intro.
Well, not that. I was ignore what's going on my screen. I forgot I was even sharing.
You're not about to blast my segment, interrupt me.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going. We're recording right now.
Now to transition from your topic. So, as you mentioned, we have kids basically making grown adult decisions.
Yeah.
And you have people in this category saying, "Oh, I was born that way. I was born to be a female instead of male. I was born to be male instead of female." Well, in this case, when it comes to identification, what if a adult says, "Oh, I've always liked kids since I was a kid"? Is that something right or something?
No, I mean.
It's starting. You see how that logic does not make any sense when you use that same basis to justify why you do what you do with your orientation, whatever. Somebody in that category that preys on kids, they can say that, and by your definition, that's not wrong. So And so my case, we're going to be talking about the recent epidemic, and this has been going on for years, of pred catchers.
Yeah.
So I got a story here. You listening?
Yeah, I'm listening. Keep going. Sorry,
In Blair County, Pennsylvania, this man named Aaron Bowman, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was sending sexually charged messages and demanded illicit photos from a girl that he thought was 15 years old, but come to find out, it was actually a group disguised themselves as a 15-year-old girl, and they were named 814, which I'm assuming is the area code, and it was pred hunters. And in this case, they ended up, catching them in the sting. They interrogated them. They eventually got the police involved. The man did admit to authorities that he did intend on meeting this girl who he thought was underage for intercourse, but come to find out, this case actually took 2 years to get resolved, and that's a little bit concerning when a guy openly admitted to authorities that he was going to meet who he thought was a 15-year-old girl, and nothing was basically almost done. He only gets charged, for attempted lewd act with a minor, something like that. He basically gets released on unsecured bail. So what's your thoughts on that? That's a little concerning that happened like that.
Yeah, I don't think, it reminds me of another story, like the whole, like immigration policy that was going on. I think it's the Lake and Riley case, I believe, where the immigrant had come over and had raped and killed and murdered a college student. I'm pretty sure this was the case, like the Lake and Riley case, but I can't remember fluently. I've been doing a lot of research lately. But what happened is he did not get any justice because he had already been deported one time, and he had come back, and then they were talking about deporting him after these events had happened. And basically, I don't even think they held a trial. Hold on. Let me look real quick. Or maybe they did. Yeah, maybe they did. What do you call it? Hold a trial and all. But yeah, maybe it's not the Lake and Raleigh I'm thinking of. Anyways, but this happened down in Georgia. And the immigrant basically was about to get off with nothing. Why did we let him back over here after he'd been deported the first time? I think it's in a similar case as that, where people do bad crap and they kind of escape their justice for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in the other dude's case, like you had brought up, yeah, he kind of skipped his justice on that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, he was being set up, but these setups I feel important because they're stopping this from happening, because who knows who else he was talking to, who knows who else could have been, assaulted or kidnapped or raped or just tricked into doing something that they did not want to do. I mean, you see these type of videos all the time online where, they'll meet up with people. Some of these men will drive across states and tell their families that they're going on business trips, and they're everyday guys. Some of them are some freaking weirdos, and then some of them are some everyday dudes who are doing this type of thing. And I mean, they're all weirdos, don't get me wrong, but it's like the whole predator. It's like the whole when you're in middle school and high school, how they talk about the predators, and they'll show the sex offender registry, and they'll go, this is what you think they look like, and this is what they actually look like, and it's much like regular looking people. But yeah, continue.
Oh, and I'm glad you said regular looking people, because my last story is going to be pretty important to that. source, that was from the WJAC News. If y'all want to read on that article, it's really short read. Nothing too bad. Just kind of paraphrase what they said. So giving out some credit to them. So my next one comes from USA Today by Janine Santucci.
Janine Santucci.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like you're familiar with the name. So she did a coverage on how Fred catches are booming all over America pretty recently. So I'm going to say, and we've kind of seen this personally with the EDP situation, let's say somewhere around late 2020, even till now, there's been a lot of YouTube channels, TikTok bloggers, Instagram, users using their platforms to
okay. I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to bring up one thing. How far is too far with this stuff, though? Because, I mean, you do have people, I'm sure, that's been out there that's been falsely brought up on a couple different things. And I'm sure there's
I'm about to get to that in a sec.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's been, like, clout chasers who are just, like, performing it and then wound up inadvertently getting somebody in trouble. And then there's other people who are like, oh, well, we'll let you go if you let us beat the crap out of you and you won't do it again. And then they'll like beat the crap out of them and send them on their way, which is messed up. And then it's, in a way, it's even more messed up when they beat the crap out of them and then call the authorities. But I mean, that's something I would rather them have happen to them than, just sending them on their way. But,
wait a second here.
Yeah.
So basically, the prey catchers are trying to expose them for, trying to commit lewd acts, and force themselves onto little kids and different things like that. They'll use 15-year-old girls or 14-year-old boys, because some of these dudes would like to take advantage of younger kids like that. And obviously, if anybody remembers, way back in the early 2000s, kind of mid-2000s, we had this show called TCAP, which is To Catch a Predator. It was hosted by Chris Hansen and Dateline NBC. And a lot of these channels are impersonating what he did. And I think what the biggest issue that's going on is that most of these pred catchers, they're more focused on humiliating, shaming, physically assaulting, like you said, beating the people up, and just trying to expose them in public because, that could garner a lot of attention. It could be somebody near a grocery store on their car walking by, they see somebody get yelled at or put up like a school bully up to a wall or something, it just draws a lot of attention and draws a lot of clout. And a lot of police are arguing that they're not conducting this right. And I have to agree with the police on this side. They really aren't. They're kind of just going out there filming, hoping they catch the dude, pull up, and if he ends up driving an hour, 2 hours, however long it takes to get there, that they can pretty much impose their will, commit assault, different things like that, get up in their face, violate some of their rights. And where they're going wrong, the police are saying they're not getting the police earlier in the investigation. What needs to be happening with a lot of these pred catchers is that they need to be able to contact police first when they finally think they have something going. Make sure the police have, legit proof that these are actual receipts. This person's account. Like you said, when it comes to people faking for internet clout, making sure this isn't, they're creating fake accounts on the other end that are impersonating people or forging messages, and then getting someone random set up, and the whole time they never even texted or did anything, and they pretty much put somebody innocent in jail. The authorities are saying you need to get us involved way earlier, and once you have police already working with you, they can not hire, but get a cop kind of on standby when you're like, oh shoot, this man's saying he's gonna be at this Walmart, or he's gonna pull up on this cop at this address. Then you can have a cop on standby. And once there's enough proof, then there could probably be more arrests made and actual justice done for the kid.
But at the same time, you also don't want to bring it up and then them do interfere before you're even ready for it to happen, So it is I think of the whole Chris Hansen show when they were doing it, and like How to Catch a Predator, They would be in a house somewhere. They'd bring them back to the house, and they would sit in, and obviously, the famous, like, Chris Hansen would walk into the room. And then they're like, oh, no, it's Chris Hansen. What have I done? Or they'll be like, what's going on? And he'll be like, did you come here to meet this, this person? First, they try to get a confession out of him. because if they get the confession out of them, then it's instant, it's an admission of guilt. So, like, that's why a lawyer, they say, no, don't say anything at all, like, whenever, you're asked about a crime, because if you admit to something, it's automatic, guilty, pretty much. You admitted to doing it. And then, on top of that, I do think definitely they should get the authorities involved before they actually do get in there, start screaming at them. And then the other thing that I have is how far is too far on some of this stuff, and how far is yeah, look, that's what you're about to bring up, isn't it? But
yeah, it's just crazy incident that happened too.
Yeah, but anyways, like, when does it step over the line of vigilantism, which is something that is illegal? You can't just run around being a vigilante. You can't, like, run around like you're Batman, and just start beating the crap out of, like, people, and, like, oh, he's robbing the store, I'm gonna beat the crap out of him, and then, like, go around hunting for more robbers and stuff like that, But yeah, I will say that. I mean, there is a difference between being a good Samaritan and vigilantism, but sometimes it can get to the point to where vigilantism kind of just disobeys the laws that we do have in place to protect people. So let's say one of these pred catchers one day, they go legit, and they're not the social media people. They're sitting there, they're hunting them down, and they're killing them. So they'll find a pred catcher, they'll wind up they'll find a predator, go out, wind up meeting the predator and killing them. Happens if they kill the wrong guy, or they catch the wrong person. They're like, hey, meet me in this store, like behind the store or whatever, and then, like, let's say the employee's walking around the store to take a smoke break or something, and that person winds up getting killed, like inadvertently, like killing the wrong person or something. I mean, that's the whole reason why I think we have laws against vigilantism. And then on top of it, what happens when the predators like fight back, and essentially,
hey, whoa, everybody, shut up.
When the predators start trying to catch the pred catchers, basically, yeah. Okay.
So, in Hartford City, Indiana, the pred catch had turned into a violent assault. I think it was in a Target, and they've obviously busted the guy, but instead he starts fighting back. So eventually, police are called into the store to break up the fight. But then I think the predator actually fired a gun and either hit someone or missed. And that goes to show how dangerous these situations can escalate. And another reason why the police don't want these pred catchers getting involved, because the pred catchers themselves can put at risk, because maybe a predator realizes, this could be a setup for, I don't want this girl or boy saying anything. So if they have weapons.
Yeah. Well, in order to abduct them, some of them are gonna bring weapons with them. But continue.
Yeah, they're gonna, I want this little boy, telling on me or going up to police, so I'm gonna use this as my will. But in reality, you're not the little boy, but you're just being a decoy of the little boy. And then now all of a sudden you've kind of put your life at risk. And that's why I go back to my earlier point, they won't be already involved. If you at least confront them and they're about to do something crazy, then the police officer pulls up, they know that their life could probably end at that instant if they decide to shoot at the pred catcher.
Yeah, I mean, and there's, like, what happens if the pred catchers go out and they go to catch predator, and it winds up being an actual, like, person who's not pretending. Like, sometimes they'll catch people who are pretending to be, like, a little girl or a little boy or something like that while they're texting that pred catcher. What happens if it's an actual little boy or something? And then next thing you know, the pred catchers are coming down there, and then they're like, their parents or whatever figure out they've been texting this person, so they call the law, and it winds up just being a big, like, number one, a big confusement, because if you don't have authorities involved with the conversation that's going on, they can then try to get you for contacting a minor, for talking to minors in a way that you shouldn't be talking to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could, like we said before, you could inadvertently wind up hurting yourself doing that if you're wind up talking to somebody who actually is like a minor or something, trying to catch a predator, you know.
Pretty much.
But yeah, what else you got for us?
And then the last part of that same article, the parent catchers are gonna obviously argue back. We want the world to be safer. We want to protect our kids. We want them to feel that they're safe online. And I think that is true. But ultimately, that comes down to the parents. Whoever's the guardian of those kids, you have to be watching what they're doing online. Make sure they're not on their phones late at night. You know, check messages if you have to. If you really think your kid's getting some crazy activity, check if you have to. Like I said, set limits. Be like, hey, phone, up in my room by 9, 10 p.m. and go to bed, so you don't just be on it all night.
Yeah.
Make sure your kids aren't going out later. They're claiming that they're going to a friend's house, but won't give any detail because that could be a little suspicious too.
Yeah, or at least have the parents bring them to that friend's house and knock on the door, not just drop your kid off somewhere and be like, oh yeah, have fun,
That kind of deal. So that was really the other thing. So what I take from that article by USA Today is that the parent catchers now aren't like handling themselves professional, and inadvertently, there's probably more predators getting off with something, and it's only a matter of time if those people really are that sick.
Well, I mean, there's
yeah.
Well, it's like there's still the same. What do you call it? There's still the same thing, like bounty hunting. How people will go out and collect like the court bounties and stuff. Well, you have to have a permit for that. So why don't they make a permit system for these like predator catcher people where they can go up there, they get an amount of training or whatever, and then they can sit there and catch them, and then for every one they catch or something like that, they get some sort of like reward or like credit on something.
Yeah, that could kind of work almost like you have to have certain license to hunt in areas or certain license for this kind of vehicle. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like like for your bounty hunter, your bail bondsmen or what they are called. They have to have like permits, and then they go to the court and they get their court order or whatever to go into the houses and like take these people. But in this sense, it would be a permit to be licensed to try to catch, different things going on. Also, in some other minor news, because, this is where we're, like, around us, affecting us, and South Carolina in general, the mountains are on fire. Have you heard about that?
What's odd is that I've only found out through like this little app called, I think, Newsbreak.
Yeah,
overall, main local, South Carolina networks, I haven't really heard anything being spoken about it.
Yeah. Let's see right here. There's a red flag warning, which means critical fire weather conditions. But really, they keep putting stuff like that out. Like there's a burn warning, stuff like that. But like it's all the way back from Toco to Newton.
What the heck are you?
Or Toccoa or whatever. Sorry, I'm just reading. But from Toccoa all the way up to Newton, there's a like fire weather warning, and there actually is a wildfire up here in the mountains, up above. Oh gosh, what's this place called?
Table Rock?
Up in like the Rida Mountain City in Sky Valley, which it's Table Rock, like the Highlands basically. It's right below the Highlands of South Carolina, and Table Rock is burning bad. And last I've heard, they haven't been able to put it out. They're just containing it. But I pulled up my MSI thing. I didn't mean to do that. Anyways. What else you got for us, Elijah? Is that it?
Well, this is my last article. This one's from the New York Post, posted by Johnny Olinsky. And this story is kind of wild because you did mention earlier about predators doing stuff for attention. But this is interesting because this is going to be a pretty good debate as well. This is actually Chris Hansen himself. So to give you, obviously, we all know that to catch a predator, they typically use adults
Yeah.
as minors, but they use 18 to 20-year-old adults that can pass off as a 15-year-old to, lure the people in when they walk into the door. They get to talking to them. They hand them some orange juice. And then maybe they ask the prayer, hey, bring me some Skittles or bring me an ice cream. They'll bring that to them. And then Chris Hansen comes out. And when Chris sees that, that's kind of his way of confirming, hey, you intending on satisfying this child and then wanting, S-word pleasure. So, and then that's giving me more proof that you came here to do that kind of deal.
Yeah.
So for the most part of Chris Hansen's press catches, they went pretty smooth. They catch the guys in the house, and also, by the way, they actually rented out people's actual houses. They paid the people to rent out their houses to let the studios use it so it doesn't look fake. Because if they use like a built house, it may look odd. But if you just use a normal, kind of big house, you think some 14-year-olds, parents lived in there, just rich and in a wealthy class, that people would believe it.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who just said, "Yeah, use my house, catch this dude,"
Yeah, I mean, they were getting a check for it, so I mean, let's be honest, that ended up being you, and they said, we're going to rent out your house for a little bit. We'll pay you, X
I mean, granted, there is risk
with
with that, like what happens when they get out of prison and they come back to this house thinking it's still, but at that point, I don't think they're going to worry about it with it on TV like that. But, what you call it, like if they come to my house and saying that, obviously I'd just be like, yeah, go ahead, use it. You don't have to pay me. You don't have to pay me nothing. Just use the freaking house.
But yeah, that's basically a brief synopsis of how the show went, and it went smooth.
Yeah.
It's one case. So November 5th, 2006.
I know where this is going.
You already heard of this too.
Yeah.
A district attorney, Bill Conrad, who was 56 years old, was actually messaging, I think, a 13-year-old boy, and, they were, exchanging sexual messages, and eventually they agreed on a date to meet. So obviously Chris Hansen, they're at the house, they're at the scene, they're waiting, but basically the whole day goes by and they're heading towards evening time. The man has not shown up yet, he's clearly off work, and obviously Bill Conrad realizes something's off. He didn't show up. This is where the show made a mistake, and this goes back to that previous article of how these prayer catchers that are instigating things need to be careful because they can be putting themselves at danger.
Yeah.
Or, using the platform for attention. So rather than Chris Hansen choosing to contact authorities and say, hey, we have a senator on hand. He's been texting this 13-year-old boy. He isn't wanting to show up. He's agreed to meet up. He has some vile intent. We need y'all to, investigate, go to his house, take him in for questioning. Instead of that route, they decided to drive to his house. Obviously, he's locked up in his house. He sees all the vans and stuff. He doesn't come out. They kept knocking at the door. They had the cameras and all that stuff. And then after that, they leave the house just for a brief second. When I mean by leave the house, they just go into the front yard, near the roadside area. And then they heard some loud banging inside the house, and they didn't know what it was. Yeah. So after about 5 minutes of trying to get into the house, they realized the lights were still on, but there was no movement, no detection or anything. So they were able to break, I think, a window or kick the door in. And a sheriff officer, I think it was a lady too, and found Bill Conrad had took himself out of this world.
Yeah.
And right here, that caused so much controversy for the show. People believe that this To Catch a Predator was being used for attention, fame, and they just wanted, to make entertainment and different things like that. And it even got so crazy that Bill Conrad's sister later on would sue NBC for $103 million.
Well, see, that's the crazy thing, because the man got caught. It wasn't like he'd rather kill himself than, get caught, go to trial, and be defamed and all that. He'd rather just kill himself. And, people of power in a position of power like that, they have these complexes where they feel like they're able to get away with anything. And then when they're actually not able to get away with anything and crap starts hitting the fan, they would rather either end everything or end anybody associated with it.
Yeah, the sister believed that the reason why Chris Hansen wanted to do this case in particular was because that this guy was a district attorney. He's a high level, politician in the state of Texas, and she believed that this was done for attention, and he just wanted more views. And this is my personal opinion. This is where I'm gonna argue that is untrue. That was the first time they actually caught somebody big. If you go to their first season of episodes, like you said, they were random everyday people.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing, and I agree with this. Is they didn't know it was going to be the district attorney, probably. That they got this message from the district attorney and said, holy crap. And anybody in a position of power like that who's going to abuse their power and use it for different things like this needs to be handled. And it would be the same as if we caught a president doing the same exact thing. Like, obviously, this has got to stop. But just because you're in a position of power doesn't make you any more susceptible to the law. It's the way I feel it. The law is the law, and you have to follow it.
Yeah, for sure. And I just feel like that's why I was linking those articles from the New York Post and USA Today. The police in there were even telling local people like us that could almost pretty much as much predators, they were telling them, hey, you need to get police involved first. You don't need to be going unprofessional. And look at Chris Hansen. He was more professional. He was actually getting people, arrested for 2 to 5, maybe even 10 years in some cases. The only reason why they never got charged with any rape charges was because they never actually did it, because they got caught before they could even do it if they were to interact.
And that's better than them doing it. I mean, if they did do it, then, that's even worse, because then that person has to live with that. But yeah, we are running out of time here. I don't want to cut you off, but we are at 46 minutes.
Oh no, we're good. I got one more sentence and I'm done.
Okay, I get you.
But that's why I linked those articles together, just to tell you that they were just not handling it professional, and even Chris Hansen himself was more professional, and in this situation made a mistake which cost him his show, and it would get canceled in 2007.
Yeah.
So to summarize what we have discussed today, there is a line of acceptance, and there is a line that is being blurred and not being drawn definitely. You have a line of we're trying to accept too many people into society. We're kind of allowing kids to do kind of grown people actions such as that.
Well, it's like you can't give your kid or freaking let your kid, or it's against the law for them to, go out and smoke cigarettes when they're 5 years old, or go around drinking when they're only 10 years old. So why should they be able to go through gender reassignment surgery at 5-10 years old? That's crazy.
You're blurring the line of adulthood and making certain decisions at a mental age. And you see how in a case like this, you think these kids know how to, they feel like, oh, I need to be a male, I need to be a female.
And it's pressure. I mean, you never seen anything like this way back when. I mean, you had drag queens at one point, but go way before that. I mean, you wouldn't have crap like this going on, But times change, I guess.
Yeah, and it's just a lot of the lines being blurred in, and you see how kids get into adult cases like these that I got pulled up right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
And, these are dangerous people that they can be interacting with when you want to think that they are adults that can make those kind of decisions. It just goes to show that we got to let kids be kids, let them interact with, kids around their age group, and let them, develop and grow together.
And quit feeding them so much BS. And a lot of it, where it comes from, is the internet. I mean, as much as the internet is a great tool, it's an amazing thing, it's also the worst thing for people. It's you wouldn't have as many of these little stupid movements going on as you would back in the 30s, 40s, because you didn't have this widespread, like, you have to, you feel, because, like, I feel like people feel that they have to be this way or they have to think this way because this is the greatest way to do it. This is what's popular. This is what's trending. I need to think this way. I need to do this because that's what everybody's doing. You would still have stuff like that where it's like, oh, come on, I'm like, everybody at school smoking, let me smoke, versus now it's more like, come on, it's the popular thing, and it's not the people around them that are doing it, but they're sitting on the internet and they're like, like, I think that I would rather be a female and I would rather go and, like, this is what everybody's doing and I just feel like you guys need to respect me as a human being, stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
like if I went and told my mom one day, I walked up and was like, hey, I think I need to be a female. I don't like the way this is going, and if y'all disagree, then y'all don't respect me as a human. That would just be stupid. I'd probably get smacked.
For sure.
Yeah, but yeah, until we have a better outlook, until better days, where I guess this is the way it's gonna be. But yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and end it here because we are starting to go over. We're at 51 minutes right now, so. But
that's fine. We get it.
yeah, but it's been fun, and I guess we will see all you people in the next one.